All right, welcome back to the Attack the Rack YouTube channel. We got a special guest with us today. We've got head varsity basketball, boys varsity basketball coach at Byron Center High School here in West Michigan, Coach Joe Rodriguez. Coach Rodriguez has been on the channel before. Coach Rodriguez, welcome back to the Attack the Rack YouTube channel. What a blessing it is to have you back.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Kurt. Happy New Year.
Yes, you too. How was your Christmas? How was your New Year's?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Weather held up this year, so it's been nice to not have to worry about that in travel situations. We played a couple games, so it was busy, but no, it's been nice. It's been as a basketball coach, you don't know how much you're gonna get off during those Christmas
Right.
breaks, especially when the holidays land on a Wednesday. But no, it's been good.
Yeah, and you did mention you did have you had a couple games over break. Who'd you
Yeah, it was a little busy. We had a game that first Saturday, so the day after break started. We took a little bit longer trip than normal. Went out to Clarkston High School to play in an event out there, the D Zone event. Played against Warren Lincoln. Um, so our break really didn't start until Sunday. I told all my basketball players, Christmas break doesn't start till Sunday. So yeah, played well out there, and then we actually played on Monday right away. So yeah, technically we didn't really start till Christmas Eve on Tuesday,
Yeah,
but
really.
yeah, we played Catholic Central on Monday over at Cornerstone. So played two of the first couple of days out of break. Yeah,
Yeah. So in Warren Lincoln, they're kind of like you guys, probably a potential top 10 ranked team in the state.
yeah, defending champs, Division two defending champs, returned quite a bit from last year. Had a chance this summer to kind of catch them in some of these scrimmages and things that we go to. Never played against them.
Right.
But yeah, they're tough. As advertised, their top two kids are both D1 players, and one's on the watch list, if you will, for Mr. Basketball.
Yep.
So yeah, it required a lot of energy, a lot of focus defensively for us. Had some adversity through the game. We started out hot, and I think we kind of surprised them early and built up a lead and held on at halftime. A single-digit lead, and then they came out in third quarter and got hot. They made 7 threes in the third quarter, and we were down 14 going into the fourth quarter. They had a rally, and we played a great fourth quarter, and were able to steal one at the end.
Yeah, buzzer beater win.
Buzzer beater win. Yeah, it was the best air ball of the season. We had a last second shot off of a steal. And it landed in a good spot, wide open shot in the corner. I think the kid kind of rushed it, not knowing how much time was left, but airballed it right to our big guy. We may have called it an assist in the huddle assist statistics, but
Sure.
it was great. It was awesome for our boys. I'm excited for them.
Nice. And then how'd you do against Catholic Central at Cornerstone?
Yeah, so that was the interesting one. That was a game actually I was more worried about. Right, there's a lot of energy and attention to the player personnel of Warren Lincoln. Right, we knew that game was coming up. We actually didn't have a game earlier in the week, so we spent all week prepping for that one. And then you go into Sunday, and then we come back and play Monday. So there wasn't really any game prep for Catholic Central. Obviously I've been watching some film. Coaches have been watching some film, and we're kind of verbalizing what we want to do. But not a lot of game practice reps, if you will, pregame reps. But they're talented. They got a young group over there. Obviously, graduated some really good basketball players, Mr. Basketball last year. New coaching staff. So they made it interesting through about 3.5 quarters. As a good game, and then I think we can score pretty well this year. I think that pressure to consistently make buckets and force the other team to try to match us throughout the game. I think that just wears on teams right now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, hey, we'll get into more of your season here in a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm getting a little ahead of myself here.
that's right.
I know you're a big football fan, Lions fan,
Yeah.
Wolverine fan. Let's start with the Detroit Lions. How are you enjoying this magical run that we're on right now?
Yeah, man, it's the Lions. Coach Dan Campbell is just, you get so frustrated with him, and you just worried about him losing a big game, for us. And this weekend I'm looking at like, what are we doing? Why are we playing our guys? We got this big game coming, and then he does what he does. They go out and they win. The players back him, and they believe in him, and he believes in his players. And then you're like, yeah, of course. Why wouldn't he play his players? Like that's dumb to think otherwise. He does what he does, and there's no second guessing it. And as a fan, you just kind of like, as frustrating as it could be, you kind of, hey, this is what we signed up for, right? This is who
Yeah.
we root for, and yeah, man, it's really exciting to see. I think the Sunday is probably going to be one of the more highly anticipated football games that I've had in my lifetime, for especially Lions, right? But
Definitely for the Lions, regular season, the biggest regular season game I can remember.
right, yeah, it's crazy to say, right? And it's in Detroit. I mean, that's
Yeah.
awesome. I'm happy for the city of Detroit and coming alive. Last year's playoff games were electric.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's gonna be a good game. And the crazy thing is like I feel like we've been in these situations. Maybe me and you are maybe dating ourselves a little bit, but some of those older games where we had wild card weekends or something like that, where they're big games, but you lost and you were done. And,
Right.
I've mentioned this to a friend of mine who's a Vikings fan. It's like the crazy part about this is like the loser still gets the 5 seed, and it's probably going to be a rematch in a couple of weeks, right? And
Right.
potentially. So as much as it feels like it's a win or go home, we got to keep that in perspective that it's not. And, hopefully we can get healthy and catch them, both times, but maybe
Right.
next time for sure.
Yeah. And then our Michigan Wolverines, kind of I mean, rough season until that last Saturday in November.
Yeah, man, it's it's crazy. We've been seeing all these stats about I think we're 8-0 when we throw for less than 100 yards and all this stuff, and it's like I want to be excited. Like I love the 8-0 part, but can we throw for at least 102 yards maybe? Like we accidentally, throw it forward without it being a flea flicker.
Yeah.
Like it's just wild. I've never seen anything like it. Like again, completely. I said this the other day watching the Michigan game. Sharon Moore, complete opposite Dan Campbell. Like, can we have polar opposites? Like we are running the ball, and we'll punt it, and we'll kick the field goal from the 3 yard line. Like just
Yeah.
completely opposite. It's crazy. And they both drive me crazy on both fronts, Lions and Wolverines on that side of things. But at the end of the day, they get the job done. They win ball games. So as a fan, you gotta love that, right?
Yeah. Yep. And I would say Michigan finishing at 8-5, solid season. I think going into the season, there's probably some unrealistic expectations. I think a lot of people thought somehow they were going to
Yeah.
make the playoff, but if you don't have a quarterback, you're not going to make the playoffs.
Well, and that's it, man. I mean, it's college football, right? There's only so many like elite quarterbacks, and even these ones that we build up to say that are elite, they get drafted and they're bust in the NFL. So I mean, were they really an elite quarterback, or they're just in a good situation, right? So yeah, very unrealistic with whoever was coming in at quarterback. I thought we also maybe panicked when the inexperienced Davis didn't play great early.
Yeah.
I mean, you knew what you had, and that's why you started him. So it's kind of crazy to go away from him early, but hey, they know what they're doing, and future's bright.
Yes. Yeah. Number one recruit in the country, dominated the portal. Michigan should be back next year.
And the third stringers just beat Alabama.
Yeah.
Crazy.
All right, let's get back into some BC hoops. Coach Rodriguez, starting with how did you guys end up last year? And then
Yeah,
and then after that, what did you have coming back for this year?
right,
This year's
right. Let me lead with this. I thought last year was probably one of the deeper teams that I've had, ever in my 15 years of coaching. Great group of guys, great chemistry. I really like my senior group. Um, 3 of them are playing collegiately at the next level, and one's walking on at state for a lacrosse position. One's playing at Kelvin basketball. One's playing at Northwood. So obviously some talent there. One's playing at Aquinas. Just he's injured, so he's not playing. So 4 guys of our senior class that were out playing, and I love that group. They'll go down as one of my favorite groups. But as you know, as a guy who's been on the sidelines before, that makes it tough when you're getting late in the game and you're like, okay, which group do I put in here? Which my better offensive player, my better defensive player? Do I go big here? Do I go small? And so I just want to lead with that because I think it's just a completely different team than this year, where we had this year a lot of our skilled guys, didn't get as much play time as they could have last year, but with it because we had such a deep group last year, right?
Right.
So we return a lot of guys, in my mind that were equally as talented as last year's group that went 18-4. We lost in the district championship to East Kentwood, and this group is pretty special. I think that I have right now, and there's not really as much competition to push them, I think, off the bench. But that's why we've ramped up our schedule. We're playing a lot of these showcases and playing games like that to give them that experience. But they've played a lot of AAU, so they've been in big environments, big games, played against some highly skilled players. So that's the long-wind answer to your question.
Yeah. And then you had a pretty unique way to start your season this year. You had some guys that were on your football team, which you guys ended up going to the state finals. And because of the, I don't know, is it more like football go? No, football still doesn't, still kind of on their same schedule, but basketball, at least games are now starting earlier. Games usually
Yeah.
not really start
So
until the first week of December. And you guys
right.
actually had a game before the football state finals, and you
Yeah.
had guys that you are now on
Yeah.
the basketball team that you did not have until
Right.
football was over.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You said it correctly. We played Tuesday before Thanksgiving this year. Was the first game, and then the football finals are obviously Thanksgiving weekend. So, definitely a unorthodox start to the season. I think they're going away from switching boys and girls or flip flopping boys and girls to start. In the
Yeah.
past, boys would be first, and the next year the girls would be first. I think the boys are going to be permanently first now,
Okay.
and then having I think a later Thanksgiving than normal just interfered with that. So it was one of those things where we couldn't even conduct tryouts because we had 5 guys that were out on the football field. We had one guy that was injured, so we're kind of waiting to see what was going to happen. But yeah, very very different, man. I'll be honest, we just treated it like we're gonna go forward, and we'll make those tough decisions later. And then, well, let's see what Friday holds. And then the football team would win. Well, let's see what next Saturday holds. And the football team wins again. We're like, well, we're already here and we're going to root these guys on, go win the championship. And we'll get you when we get you. Kind of, that was our mentality in those last 2 weeks.
Yeah, and so you mentioned you already had your first game the Tuesday before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Now we're going into the new year here. How many games have you guys played total
I know you're going to ask me
so
that
far?
question.
Well, my point is, I know you played a handful of games
Right.
already, which
Right.
is
Right. Right.
which it used to kind of be you only really had maybe 2 games before break,
Right.
and maybe you
Yeah.
play a couple over breaks. So kind of going into the new year, you've only maybe played 4 or 5 games, and you guys have played more than
Yeah. We
that.
played 8 games. Yep. Played
That's
8 games.
crazy. I
Yeah.
mean,
It's different, man. I mean, I'm I remember thinking, oh, we're 2-2 or we're 3-1 going into break, and this is kind of where I was hoping we would be. I thought we might win these 3 but lose this one. And now we're like, no, it's we have to add in all these showcase games, and you're definitely, we're playing 22 games in the season now, to help accommodate teams trying to play in some of these events. So yeah, it's definitely it's a little different. I'd be really really cautious, I want to say, when building our schedule. With the expectations of this year's team, we were getting invited to go all over the place.
yeah,
And I watch some of these teams right now, and they're playing every weekend, on the east side of the state, or going all over and playing these showcases, and then they got to play back to backs. And I just want to make sure we were looking out for our guys and, not overloading mentally and physically for our players. So we actually only have one back-to-back, which I think is kind of crazy, playing in all these events. We have one coming up here, but even that back-to-back, the Saturday game is in East Kentwood, which is, 5 miles down the road for us. So it won't feel like such an away game,
right.
if you will. But yeah, it's different, man. It's you got to adjust with the times, and if you want to play in some of these events and play against some of the better competition that's out there, then you try to get in when you can.
Do you think that's what, so for those of you watching, here in Michigan,
Hmm.
it was a 20 game schedule forever. And then was it year three now where they bumped it up
Yeah,
to 22 games?
I believe so. Yeah.
Do you think that part of the reason they added 2 games is because of the popularity of these like Saturday weekend showcases so that it allows?
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I want to say that that was the rationale. That was the exact rationale of why they were adding them. I think it was just too difficult to add. If you have X amount of conference games, right, and then
Yeah.
you want to play in so many showcase or tournaments, if you will. So what I think is kind of cool is like this. So last year we went to Cornerstone and we played in a tournament, right? You don't know who your second opponent is going to be. It's going to be A or B, right, depending on that game. And I'll be honest, like it didn't work out in our favor. Like the competition, didn't work out for us. Um, and so this year, when talking to like Cornerstone, for example, we want to know who our opponents were going to be, and they set 4 really solid teams, one of which is in our conference, so it worked out. So let's play 2 really good teams. So we play Catholic Central, and then we play Rockford next Tuesday. So I like that better, right? It's you're not winning a tournament, so to speak, but I want to play 2 solid teams if we're going to be making the trip and playing, in these different venues.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And then so how many, well, the conference is realigned this year. So who how many teams are in your conference now and who are they? If you could-
Yeah, I call it the Big Ten East and the Big Ten West. It makes zero sense regionally, logistically, but we have us, so BC, Caledonia, and Jenison, and then we go to Muskegon, High, Mona Shores, and Reese Pufford.
Okay.
So yeah, 3 trips to Muskegon in the winter makes complete sense for travel purposes, right?
And they're probably on Tuesdays.
Exactly right.
So
Yeah,
you got six teams in your league, so you got 10 conference games.
yeah,
So that leaves 12 more games for you
yeah,
guys. Yeah,
right.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. These conference alignments. What's funny is like for football, there was a couple more teams in there.
Oh,
So, yes, I think Forest Hills Northern and Northview maybe.
okay.
Uh, we're in the league for football, but not for the other sports. So,
Interesting.
that just tells you that football, it runs the show, and whatever, we roll.
And then who do you guys got in your district this year?
So that is a big change this year. Last year for 1 year only. Last year we had Granville and Hudsonville along with us and East Kentwood, which was incredibly tough.
Yeah.
That's when you were really paying attention to that NPR ranking. You want to try to get that 1 or 2 seeds so you can get a bye. This year those teams left. Granville and Hudsonville are gone, and then it's still us with East Kentwood. But we're with like Wyoming, Thornapple, Kellogg, um, maybe Wayland. No, Wayland's a B.
Yeah, yeah.
They're a team. I can't think of who the other one is. But so yeah, it's at Wyoming, so not too far for us. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. It's interesting how they determine that stuff because like for the district, it's supposed to be pretty local. And
Right.
you guys got Granville like right down the road
Yeah. Yeah.
and you're not in the same district.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it was last year. Like East Grand Rapids hopped us to go to Caledonia, and it's like it just didn't make any sense. But
Yeah.
yeah, I try not to get caught up in all that. And tell us who we play, when we play, and we'll prepare.
Yep. And then when do you guys open your conference schedule up?
So we have Mona Shores tomorrow night. So
Tomorrow.
yeah,
Okay.
Friday night. Friday night we got Mona at home.
Nice.
The famous new term for ADs, the 6 pack. So we have the 3 boys and 3 girls teams all playing at the same location.
Yeah.
It gets a little busy, and we fill up the oxygen and go from there.
All right. And then what do you what are your thoughts going forward here for the conference schedule and the rest of the season?
Yeah, I mean, these next 8 days are going to tell me a lot about our team. Obviously we talked about the Warren Lincoln Catholic Central game. We've played some pretty good teams and we've come out on top. Um, but this next 8 day stretch is going to be, going to teach us a lot about who we are. We have Mona Shores tomorrow, Rockford on Tuesday, Muskegon on Saturday, and Grand Blanc on Saturday. So did I say Friday? Yeah. So Friday, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday. So the next 8 days, we got really good teams. Starting with Mona tomorrow, and I just keep telling our guys we can't overlook that one. I mean, I don't think we will. I mean, they're record wise, they're not as strong, but they've played the Rockfords. They've played all these teams that we're preparing to play. So yeah, I like our chances. I like our team. I like what I'm seeing. I think we've had a really good break. We were very versatile in our play, and our style. We've faced a little bit of adversity. Talking about that Warren Lincoln game, and we were able to overcome. So, yeah, I mean, our thing is, we're trying not to get too caught up in the wins and losses in December, January. As long as we compete and we're working to improve, then our goal is to be at our best come February. Right? It's not March
Yeah.
anymore.
Right.
You can't call it March Madness anymore because districts are in February. So.
All right. Well, hey, what's there's a lot of talk every single year. I want to get your take on this. I honestly thought it was a go for this year until I went to my first high school game and did not see a shot clock.
Yeah.
Hot topic every year, but yet it still hasn't happened. What's your thought on implementing a shot clock into high school hoops here in Michigan?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we played in the Calvin College, the Invite, if you will, and they implemented that shot clock. So we played South Christian over there. Um, Definitely changed the ball game a little bit. You have to coach a little differently when you got that. Defensively, you might do things you wouldn't normally do. I mean, South Christian zoned us a little bit to try to bleed that clock a little bit. So yeah, I mean, I think I personally like it. I mean, obviously, there's those situations at the end of the games you hate to see as a high school coach when a team is just stalling and you can't really do anything about it. Um, I think the free throw situation, the rule change there to eliminate the single bonus. I'm sure, yeah. So there's some things that they've tried to counter without adding a shot clock. But yeah, I think I'm with you. I think a lot of fans of the game would prefer to see it. But I also worry about you never want to see a game get interrupted. If there's issues with the clock, you gotta stop and figure that out. You gotta have a adequate clock operator, controlling two clocks now. Now we do that for football already, so I don't like that argument necessarily to say, well, you're gonna have to hire somebody. Well, every football team has that. So, but yeah, I'm with you, man. I think we need it. It's good for the game. It prepares players who are trying to prepare for the next level, but even for players that aren't playing at the next level, I think it just teaches the game, as opposed to just a stall and everybody sit there and play zone defense.
Yeah. What do you think? I mean, is it still on the table in the next couple of years? Might we see it, or do you think it's just
I, I
if it hasn't happened yet, it's not going to?
Yeah, I mean, I gotta imagine that they've already put in there that you can opt in. I think you have to kind of petition to the MHSA before the season that you and the other team are going to utilize it.
Oh,
I think it's kind of like they're trying to get teams to pilot what it looks like, and I think that's why they do it with some of these invites.
yep.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I think all the momentum is going that way. I just, I'm not in those board meetings to decide why it hasn't happened yet.
Is the reason we haven't seen it just come down to the cost of having to implement two shot clocks and then
Right.
pay someone to run the shot clock, every game? Do you think that's the reason
I
we
gotta
haven't?
imagine, yeah, I gotta imagine the bottom line is always a big factor in why things do or do not happen.
Yeah.
I've coached at the smallest schools, and now I'm at BC, where we're forced, or we're blessed, I should say, to have a lot of resources, and that not being one of the things we worry about. But yeah, I don't know. It seems like it should be a no brainer. That should be happening soon.
Sure. All right, Coach Rodriguez. Well, thanks again for joining us. Before we get you out of here, I got to know one thing. You and I have been friends for years. One thing we always definitely connect on is music. Both a couple of old school hip hop heads. I want to know in 20 going into here to 2025, what is Coach Joe Rodriguez listening to now?
Well, if you look at my year in review, iTunes, you're going to be littered with a bunch of kids tunes and kids bop type deals. So that tells you who runs the aux cord at my house right now. A lot of Peppa Pig and those things. But no, man, it's the same, man. I catch myself just like you. I'm sure we end up going back to our old hits and
Yep.
listening to the old hip hop. I mean, I definitely I try to stay current, which I think is current, and try to listen to what comes out now. Some of the bigger artists, Kendrick Lamar's and those guys, and I like what I hear, and I get excited, and I'll listen to it for a couple of weeks solid, and then I go back to my the old classics, and it just never fails to me. But no, I'm excited, man. I think one of my resolutions of the year is to try to get back to try to see some live shows,
Yeah.
even smaller venues, and I don't know when I'm gonna find time to do that, but just in my mind, that's where I'm at right now in the music world.
Yeah. No, I'm kind of with you there. I'd love to see some live. It's been a long time since I've seen some live music. So,
Yeah, man. What are you
uh,
listening to?
well, I've
Yeah,
gotten really into, honestly, maybe I'm just getting old. I've gotten really into podcasts.
yeah.
So I have,
No, that was gonna be my answer, and I didn't want to be
yeah,
like, I'm on a
no,
podcast talking about.
yeah, no, I appreciate that. But I will say today, I actually listened to the whole Wu-Tang Clan 36 Chambers,
Yeah,
their original album. I listened to the whole thing today, and it's just like, you know, that's just such a classic album where you don't skip a track. You listen to
right,
the whole thing.
right.
Um, the other thing is the other day too, I was caught myself listening to some Naughty by Nature. And I'm thinking, I mean, these guys had at least two like hit singles on every album they had. Um, the last album that I really remember coming out was in like '99, Nature's Fury.
Okay.
That has like six bangers on it. I'm like, when you start thinking about the all-time great hip hop artists, groups, duos, whatever, I feel like no one ever gives Naughty by Nature enough
That's
credit.
interesting.
I
Yeah.
almost I think it was one of the most underrated, and Tretch, the lead guy for Naughty by Nature, most underrated of all time, I think.
That's a topic for another discussion, man. I
Yeah.
think you might be onto something. Most underrated hip hop albums of our decade. That'd be
Yes.
good. Yeah,
So,
I like
all right. Well, I know you just got done with practice. You're anxious to get home. We're recording this here on Thursday, January 2. We've got a big game between Notre Dame and Georgia coming up here in
it. Yeah.
less than 1 minute. So
Who'd you
let
pick?
what was it? Georgia -1?
I think so. No, I think Notre Dame -1 actually.
Really? Last I knew, I thought
Maybe,
it could have
maybe it
changed.
changed. Yeah.
Yeah.
A
I know
lot
I
of
like
a lot of talk about the backup quarterback from Georgia, so I know there's a lot of people who are leaning away from Georgia.
yeah. No, I still like Georgia. I think Notre Dame is kind of pretenders, soft schedule, easy schedule. Austin,
But
Northern
edit this
Illinois.
part out.
How about yourself? What do you got?
Oh man, I've just been watching these other bowl games, and I think the quarterback play is just so big. Yeah, I think Texas, even though they were able to win, I go back to their game against Georgia. I don't think. I think Ewers is that name Ewers? I
Yeah.
think he's the safe play, but I just don't think he's like the gonna win a big game for you. So for that reason, I think I'm going Notre Dame for this one, just because I got to see more out of this big game quarterback. But not that their quarterback's a stud necessarily either, but he's been playing well since that loss to early on in the season.
All right, and then the last question: who are you picking to win it all?
Well, I've said Texas, and I kind of was a little worried after that Georgia game, but I was like, maybe they're going to learn something from that because I thought they could have pulled away in that game. But I'm gonna stick with my pick. I'm gonna stay with Texas. Yeah, we'll see.
All right, sounds good. All right, Coach. Well, thanks again for joining us. Let's see if we can do this again, maybe going into the tournament. And good luck to you the rest of the season.
Thanks, sir. Happy holidays.